Hello, and welcome back to Angels at Home Elderly Care Conversations. I am Tara Thomas with Visiting Angels in Rochester, Minnesota. And today we are continuing our conversation on elderly care myths, what families need to know before making a decision.
Yes, and I'm Amy Tucker, operations manager at Visiting Angels in Rochester, Minnesota. And this topic we started to unpack ended up being there was a lot more luggage in, so we had to make it into two. And like Tara said, this is the second episode. Um, so we left off, we were going to talk about it looks like the question was one persistent elderly or senior care myth is that in home care is only for people with serious medical issues. Tara, what do you think? Is this really the case?
Absolutely not. You don't want to wait until things get serious. You want to continue to maintain your independence, your ability to live in your own home. And as we age, it becomes harder to do some things. It might take longer. Our mobility, it can be altered. Some of our senses, our hearing, our strengths, our vision, maybe a little bit of cognitive decline, or maybe we just don't want to do things anymore. And that's okay. As we age, we earn the right to not have to do some of the things that we did when we were younger, stronger, had more energy. So I'd say, like, for an example, if somebody has arthritis, very common in elderly, some tasks get harder. Maybe it's just opening up your pill bottles or doing certain household tasks or cooking.
Right. Again, just to reiterate, not waiting until serious medical and actually being able to step into the home to offer those things that you were talking about, Tara, a little bit of help with cooking, preparing meals, maybe some personal hygiene, but not necessarily getting used to having people in the home and then allowing a company like Visiting Angels to get to know the client and age with the client is actually really helpful. Not that everybody can do that, but if you can, it's ideal um, to work with the client instead of stepping in crisis mode, which we can do as well. And that sometimes that's just the way it is. But what are some of the non-medical reasons family turn to in-home care today? So non-medical reasons that we might look at in-home care.
Maybe going up and down the stairs is more difficult, but your laundry is on another floor, so you get help with the laundry. Maybe your lower back is hurting and leaning over to change your bed linens is it sets you off for a whole day or longer. So we step in, we change the bed linens, we do some cooking, just doing some of the tasks that are going to help somebody enjoy and maintain a high quality of life in their own home.
Right. We help a lot of clients with errands and grocery shopping or taking to doctor's appointments. Um, so when driving, um, is something that maybe isn't the best idea for some of our clients or people that are aging. Even if you still have that ability to drive, it's nice to have somebody um, to take you to those places. And for the family, um, who are often adult children who are oftenly still very well into their careers or their own families. Being able to have somebody there to do those driving to appointments and grocery shopping. And did we talk about med reminders too?
One of the things that I want to go back to is, like, you talk about driving and the ability to drive. It's not only the driving, it's the parking.
Well, yeah, especially in Rochester, Minnesota.
Like let's nobody wants to go downtown right now in Rochester, Minnesota. Even when there is no construction and they're not working on anything, you drive to your doctor's appointments and you're not pulling up in front of a doctor's office with a parking lot that's right outside. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's still places that you can do that, but often you're parking in a ramp and you may or may not even have a handicap sticker. And even still, it's a distance into the appointment.
Right.
So, or a grocery store or going on errands, just getting in and out of the car and walking up and down aisles and getting the bags back out to the car. You go back 40 years, there were services that brought your groceries. There was somebody to help you bring your groceries to the car. That doesn't exist anymore. Sometimes you're having to navigate self checkout in the grocery store. I don't even like doing that. Um, so having that help while you're there preserves your energy and your abilities as well.
Agree.
And then I'll go back to your topic of, like, medication reminders. That's a big one. It's, did I take my medications today? What is today? If you're not working or having you don't have to keep track of the days of the week when you're on vacation or when you're retired. You don't have to do that anymore.
Right.
So, but you do have to take your blood pressure medication or your diabetic medication, any kind of whatever you're taking that's a prescription needs to be taken as ordered. So having a reminder for that is key. And we don't have to be there. We can tell, did you take your medications last night? Just to sort of help keep family on track as to whether or not the person's taking the medications as ordered. Is it only a reminder that's needed or is there more information needed?
Right. That just reminded me there was a question before that it kind of runs into what this is saying. Are there clients who just need help with daily routines or just companionship? Which we just talked about. However, um, the answer is yes.
The cognitive stimulation, the brain stimulation that you get with having somebody come into your home, have conversations with you, you can talk about anything. Memories, grandchildren, current events, whatever the client wants to talk about is the conversation that we're engaging in, and that's keeping your cognitive abilities sharp,
And prolong your health span.
which is everybody's goal.
Yep. Here's a popular question, Tara. How can families spot early signs that support is needed, even before any major health concerns arise?
So there's several early signs of an elderly person that is needing some help in their home. Some of them can be subtle. Are they losing weight because they're not cooking, or they don't have the ability to shop, combination thereof. If they're by themselves, maybe they just don't feel like eating. So having somebody there just while you are, eating to have conversation and social relationship over food is very big. When they're going to the doctor, are they having issues with their blood pressure or maybe their blood glucose levels that was once very well controlled, but now, their blood pressure, it's higher than it normally was. Is this because they're not taking their medication correctly? Or is their diet higher in sodium because they're eating more processed foods? Frozen meals, very high in sodium. Canned soup, simple to prepare, but higher in sodium, and that can affect the blood pressure. Another sign is if you're going to visit mom and you notice all of a sudden mom that was very well dressed and fastidious about her appearance, her clothes are wrinkled or she's wearing the same thing that she was wearing 2 days ago. And does this mean they're forgetting to change their clothes? Are they showering? Or is it just more difficult to go downstairs to the basement where the washing machine is? Do you see dust where you didn't see dust before?
Right.
Because as we get older, our our energy levels might go down, but our vision changes. We might not be dusting, and then extra dust and dirt around the house is gonna affect your respiratory health. Are people withdrawing socially? Is
Right.
another subtle sign.
Yeah, and the hygiene, lacking hygiene, if you're noticing the same clothes, smells in the house, odd things like, well, the amount of food in the refrigerator, I think, too. Sometimes we're noticing, "Mom, what are you eating?" Like there's nothing in the refrigerator. Are we getting proper nutrition? Sometimes Meals on Wheels or something can be looked into, right?
Meals on Wheels is a wonderful service. It's a daily check-in. Somebody is dropping off a midday meal. They're generous portions. It's often enough for a meal or a meal and a half.
Right.
But then leftovers in your refrigerator. Maybe there's no food in the fridge, or maybe the fridge is so full because you didn't
Fire.
finish portions. It shouldn't be in there that long. And,
Right.
we need to clean out a fridge, which is one of the great things that caregiver can do. Uh, One of the best weapons we don't think about to have in our kitchen is a good Sharpie.
I wonder if I have one. I don't think I do.
Yeah. I actually do have a Sharpie in my pantry. Um, I use it for condiments.
Right.
Like, I just put the date that I opened it. And my eyes aren't the greatest. I have these fun things. But I will write when I open something, just or the expiration date on a Sharpie. It makes it easier to throw things away.
Right. Medications being taken, noticing that um expired medications maybe not being taken or very disorganized in cabinets. That's another sign that we might need more help in the home. And there are things you can do with your pharmacy for medication to help with the organization because um, not everybody can manage somebody else's medications. It's not that easy. Is that a fair thing to say? We can do pharmacy bubble packs. Tara, can you talk about that? Things to make medication easy, but if you're noticing that um, medications aren't being taken or picked up or there's expired meds, can you talk a little bit about that one, Tara?
As you get older, you tend to be started on more medications, and keeping those organized, keeping them straight, getting the refills on time, that can be an overwhelming task when you are older. Some pharmacies make bubble packs or single serve medications. This is what you take every morning. This is what you take every evening. That is helpful to a lot of people or their families. You can set up in pill strips. Just having that, a morning pill strip, an evening pill strip, where everything is set up by the week. Sometimes, and you can still do that on your own as the elderly person, and you just might need a reminder to take them. Or sometimes family members will visit once a week or once every 2 weeks and set up all the medications. Either having your pharmacy do it or having somebody else help you with it. Both of those are good ideas. The machines, pharmacies don't fill the machines. That is up to a home care agency like Visiting Angels. The nurse can come in, set up medications for, depending on the machine, up to a month. Or if there's not a lot of medications, up to 3 months, you can set it all up. And then a machine will make a sound to cue the person, remind the person it's time to take your medication. And sometimes, the top will flip up for the time that they're supposed to be taking it.
Right.
And those can be simple or very complicated. It can remind you once a day, or can remind you up to 3 to 4 times a day.
Right. One of the other signs that we just touched on quickly, but I want to go back to is the lack of hygiene. So, noticing wearing the same clothes or stained clothes or um, uncut fingernails or toenails. Those are signs that you might need more help in the home. The hygiene um, particularly can lead to increased bladder infections if we're not showering I mean, I know that is something that happens frequently, Tara. Am I right about that? And as we age, or we see it, is the lack of interest in that personal hygiene, especially showering for some reason.
And showering, that can be scary. What you don't wanna do is fall. You don't want to slip, and sometimes that's why showering goes off the wayside. Somebody doesn't feel very steady on their feet, or they're not able to regulate the temperature in the shower, or it's cold, and who really wants to take off all of your clothes
I was
and
actually
get wet?
just thinking that. I mean, I can relate to that, and I know that as we age, our temperature regulation changes quite a bit, and me right now at this age, I get cold and I don't wanna I wear many layers. And I'm
Mhm.
oh, once I get in there, I'm fine, but yeah, so if you think about 20, 30, 40 years later, your temperature regulation is even more. A lot of the senior houses we walk into, our caregivers will say, "It's so hot in there."
Mhm.
And so, okay, so that's something to look for, the hygiene, but I wanted to touch on another thing, and that's the withdrawing socially. So, not being as involved in church groups, or maybe they were doing book club, and that could be due to mobility issues and the hygiene part.
Well, it's like, how much do you wanna put in all that effort just to get to meet your friends for coffee, or to go to your monthly lunch? It can be overwhelming, but when you have help in your home, when you've got a caregiver that's coming in that morning saying, "Hey, you have your monthly lunch," or "This afternoon is the church meeting to plan this, and you've been doing that for decades. So I'm going to go put a space heater on in the bathroom, and I'm gonna get it nice and warm for you. I can put the towels in the dryer." You have somebody putting in that extra effort to help you get ready. Maybe you are capable. Okay, the bathroom's ready, and that person can go in. They're able to get themselves undressed. You already have the shower going at the correct temperature, and just that extra bit of help gets them feeling better and fresh, and then they're ready to go outside. You have less of the social isolation. If you still have healthy skin and good mobility, it's okay to go to a nail salon for the manicure and pedicure,
Yeah.
to have that done. You don't need anything fancy, you don't need the acrylics, you don't need the tips, just a plain old manicure and pedicure with a good nail salon is also key, and it's one less thing you have to do for yourself that makes life a little bit less overwhelming.
I like that tip. And that is for males and females. Just wanna
Yes.
throw that out
Yes.
there. Um,
100%. You actually see a lot more men, and I think men are a lot more open about it. Might be I see men in the nail salon that are in their 40s and 50s.
me too. Yep,
So, we just have to see more in their 60s and 70s.
correct. Um, then the other myth that is some families feel like, and I'm not sure if this is as much families, but maybe, but when you're getting professional caregivers involved, that then the family loses control. What do you think about that one?
Nobody should be losing control. Um Control's a tough word. It's like, who's the boss of your life? Am I the boss of my parents' life? Absolutely not. My
Right.
parents were still able to, run their own life and be the boss of themselves. They might need help. I might not agree with all of the decisions that they're making, but nobody should lose control because they have asked for help. If our clients, the people who are receiving our services, feel that they're losing control, they should be able to speak up to somebody, whether it is the visiting agent's office or whether it is one of their children that are helping them out, saying, you know, "I'm being told to do all of these things." Sometimes suggesting that you do things that are in your own best interest to maintain your health span, to maintain your strength, maintain your mobility and independence. But it's not up to an agency or an adult child to come in and take over and run somebody else's life. When it comes to losing control, the purpose and the goal of home care is to help the elderly person continue to age in place successfully, safely, and enhancing their health.
How do you think visiting angels helps maintain open communication with families?
So, maintaining open communication with families is very important to us. Equally important to us is respecting the autonomy of our clients, the people that we care for. And we have to maintain compliance with HIPAA, the privacy laws that we are required to follow. So, part of that is we are going to enhance the open communication amongst our clients and their families is we want to have a release of information signed. Who can we talk to? Who are who's the first and second people that we're communicating with for the client as we're helping them in the home? If a client is oriented and there is no cognitive decline or memory care, Alzheimer's, dementia issues, they can self direct their care. We have to have that release of information signed so we can discuss care and concerns with the families as well. Um, if we don't have that form signed, we're not allowed to communicate with extended family.
However, that doesn't mean that the family cannot call us and we can listen to their concerns. Um, we take those seriously and can follow up on them, but we just can't, without that signed, we can't speak specifically about the care plan.
Yeah, and we can't close that communication loop. If you have a client's son that calls and said, "This is what I'm concerned about that's going on at the house," we can definitely listen. Thank you for letting us know about that. We're going to follow up with it. If we don't have that release of information signed for that communication, we can't close that communication loop with the person who called us with the concern, but that person can go back to with their parents and see that, things were changed. We do encourage our clients, when we're doing that initial meeting and the nurse is there or our client coordinator is there and the client is there and their adult children are there, we're saying, "Can we talk? In order to do that, we need you to sign this. We need your permission to do that. But we would love to be able to have this open communication because ultimately we are all on the team and the side of the client."
So, Tara, I guess I have to talk to you about this real quick. If I can talk about this. If we don't have a release of the information, do we ever have a situation where when we go to do the 90-day visit, um, then we can't have a daughter sit in the room?
Oh, no, as long as if the person is there, you have like whether it's the son or the daughter, the spouse, if, when you're there doing the 90-day, any kind of follow-up, a 14-day follow-up, 90-day post-hospitalization, whatever the reason is, somebody's visiting the home and they have a family member there, I introduce myself to the family member and I'll ask the client, "Are you ready to talk about all of this? Tell me how you're doing."
Okay.
That is absolutely fine. If you can tell if somebody's visibly uncomfortable having somebody present.
Okay.
And it's a matter of just checking in with the client and respecting their autonomy. They might not wanna talk about bathroom habits in front of, a family member, and then you can, would you like, your daughter to make you a cup of tea while we discuss the bathroom habits?
Okay.
Just give them that respect and autonomy for you're addressing your concerns for them, and their need or want for privacy, maybe just for some topics and not all of them.
Right. And we have a lot of ways too that we communicate with the family. Typically, we've had cases where there are multiple adult children. So, typically we will make one person, if the client, the person receiving the care, is open to different uh having visiting angels communicate and have a point of contact, a release of information to different family members, we will personally have one point of contact. Now, I've seen it where families will say, I want this person, this daughter to be responsible for all the care plan, and this person to be responsible for financial, and then this person to be in charge if there's anything about scheduling. But we really do like to have just one person be the visiting angels contact. So we've had situations where, maybe 5 adult children live in different areas and they're all calling and wanting updates. That can be really hard to manage. So, again, we do texting, and we have the 14-day visits, obviously, after starting care, but then the 90-day visits, and we'll invite families to that. Um, if the client is open to having family there so that everybody's hearing. We also have a portal where our caregivers who are in the home are writing notes about their particular visits, and all of the family, all 5 siblings, adult children, can have access to that portal and see all the same notes. Um, and then, of course, you can call, um, we can schedule phone conferences where all of the children are on that call, if that's an option. So we have lots of ways to communicate. Um, yeah, there is no lack of resources in communication. We're using them all. So
One of the things that I like best about in home care and what I do with visiting angels is watching the family bonds be strengthened between our clients and their family members, children, grandchildren. When you're having this help in the home, family members who might have been stressed or overwhelmed providing the cares needed for their family members, they can be some of that care burden's lifted. They can relax, and then there's less stress and more time. And when we talk about increasing the health span and increasing the quality of life, our clients experience that increased in quality of life, as well as their caregivers and their loved ones. Would you rather visit your parent and need to clean the kitchen and vacuum and dust and help them with their laundry? Or would you rather, you know, visit your parents or aunt, uncle, grandparent and look through a photo album or have a cup of tea and a snack and reminisce and talk about old times and memories? Or do you want to run all their errands and clean the house? And
right.
I know what my choice would be. I would much rather have the help and strengthen the bond and increase the quality of time that I am able to spend with my loved one.
Right. Another myth that we have here is that caregiver matching is random, and wanting to know how visiting angels actually connects families with the right caregiver. And then why does that match matter so much? Well, I could talk about this for, I don't know, 3 podcasts. um, Matching caregivers is definitely a tricky and interesting, just like your everyday people and friends. We don't exactly like everyone we interact with. Um, and it's it is an interesting science. So typically I'll just give you the nuts and bolts of what we do from a scheduling team when a new client signs on. The first person they meet with is our client care manager, who goes through all the paperwork and all the logistics of using a home care company. And then they meet with one of our nurses who does a nursing assessment in the home. So from those two initial contacts, the client care manager and the nurse, they will give our scheduling team a synopsis, a story about who they are. From that, our scheduling team kind of clicks through their database and says, "Oh, I bet this person would be good there. I bet this person we have 100." So we've had up to 125 caregivers at any one time. We've had as little as 85, but 85 people, that's a lot. So our scheduling team has like this memory that is unbelievable, but they're doing it every day. But the second factor that's going on in the background is the urgency of care and what it needs to be started. And, you have to remember those 100 caregivers are out there working already in this huge matrix of clients that they're seeing. So we might really think that Samantha is going to be a perfect fit for this client based on what our nurse manager and the client care manager told us about them. We think that she is going to be the match, but she is already scheduled with a full line of clients. So then we kind of have to go, okay, I'm thinking Samantha like personality is going to be best, but right now we've got to get this started. This has to get started. So we're going to just who's available, and let's get it started. Let's get it moving, and then we'll see. So then what happens, and we talk about this, we want to hear who your family member, who you liked, who wasn't exactly the best fit, and why. So, for example, they might say, well, this person just talks too much. I'm not interested in that much conversation. Well, that particular caregiver works with another client who absolutely loves and adores her because she talks so much. So there's all these factors. And usually, typically, getting started with a new case, you're going to see lots of different faces. And the communication and feedback that we hear back is invaluable because as we hear, well, this one's too quiet, this one's too young, or my mom likes older, more mature caregivers, um, or really loves young people because it reminds her of her grandchildren. And so she really enjoys interacting. There also might be a skill level factor. All of our caregivers are trained the same way. However, they have strengths. One caregiver might be an excellent cook. Well, if you're serving a client who doesn't really need cooking in their home, then that might not be the best fit. I guess what my point is here is it takes time, and sometimes it is just perfect matches right off. I see that all the time where we think it's going to be someone, her schedule is available, his or her schedule is available. We put them in there. It's a beautiful match. Everybody's happy. Sometimes it takes a little longer. Sometimes to find that right rhythm. And then, we might have to move them from this assignment because they're a better fit for, the new person signing up. What goes on in that scheduling is unbelievable, but the point here would be the feedback and patience from a client, starting out, is key, and it is not just willy-nilly whatever, I can tell you that. It is very interesting, intricate, but the matches that are made when they're made, and 95% of the time, and maybe even a higher statistic, when that match happens, it is so beautiful for both the caregiver and the client. Um, I just love it. It's kind of like an addiction, sort of. You just making those beautiful matches happen is it's kind of why we do it. We hear it from both caregivers and the team working on making those matches. Um, it's it's beautiful. If the match isn't quite right, what happens is First, we have to decide if it's personality over purpose. So, if we need to keep the client safe and that person might not be their favorite person, we might have to keep them in the home if safety is the priority. Um, if safety is not part of it and it's just, nope, this one isn't working, then we can pull and we can continue to play until we find somebody. But the first step is always letting us know and that constant communication. So we often hear it can be a text message, it can be an email, it can be a quick phone call. Mom absolutely loved Christina. And then we'll keep that down. Loves Christina, loves Christina. The more that we hear, the better we are at it. And we manage 2,000 hours a week. So we do a pretty good job at it. Our team is pretty awesome at doing that.
That's very well stated. I mean, I really can't think of anything to add. Is communication from the client and their families about how the caregiver match is going is key.
Okay, how about this myth? People blur the lines between in home care and nursing home. What is the real difference between in home care and nursing homes?
It's like the Wizard of Oz question.
Yeah.
Th There's no place like home. It doesn't matter, how amazing or what you think the other place can be. If you want to be home, if it is feasible for you to stay home and that is what you want, there's no place like home. I think one of the myths is, "Oh, they'll get better care if they're in a senior living community," whether it's assisted living or skilled care, or memory care. That's not true. We're visiting angels as professionals too. E We also provide, I have a registered nurse license. Whether I work in a hospital or assisted living or at Visiting Angels doing home care, I am I'm a professional, so are the caregivers. Many of our caregivers are CNAs, just like you would have in an assisted living facility that has provides services or a skilled care facility. It's every place has provides great care. Everybody who's working there is working there because that is where their heart is. The financial costs of each can be different. Often, home care is the most financially feasible when you sit down and you look at the pricing and you look at the cost of services or the different tiers of services if you're in assisted living. You usually get the most individual care on your own schedule with home care. And when you are living where you want to, you reap the benefits in emotional health.
Right. When do you think families should consider in-home care over like an assisted living?
In-home care should be considered every single time the person wants to stay in their own home.
Okay.
Period. It's you live your whole life and you work and you want your retirement and you have a vision of what your life is gonna be when you are older. No matter, 70s, 80s, 90s. You've got a vision of, "This is what I think I would like." Aging in place is the preference of the vast majority of elderly adults, and having in-home care that will help you with your daily tasks, no matter whether it is housekeeping tasks or personal care tasks, your activities of daily living, that one-on-one care that we can provide is absolutely the preference of most people over a facility or assisted living apartment.
Can in-home care be used alongside other forms of support? I know the answer to this, but I'm going to let you answer.
Yeah, yes, absolutely 100%, and we frequently work with hospice or we are visiting somebody in an assisted living facility. They might be, living in assisted living with a minimal tier of services, but they need a little bit of extra help, that the facility might not have the staffing for, um, but we can come in and help either bridge care or provide care. If somebody is in skilled care or in assisted living, we go into those facilities. Sometimes people that we've cared for a long time in their home are now really needing for their best interest to move to memory care, and taking their visiting angel caregiver with them helps them with that transition and makes it go very, very smoothly. Or hospice. Somebody's lived in their home all their life, and now we're nearing the end of their life, and they want hospice care. The person and their family wants them to live out their entire life at home, but you need 24-hour care. Maybe you've got somebody that can be there all day, but nobody can stay awake 24/7, and we can come in and support somebody that is in hospice as well.
Right. So we've done hospice. We work with skilled nursing or assisted living people that live in facilities. Also PT, OT. We take clients to those appointments, or we're there to support those exercises after PT and OT have worked with and given an exercise plan. We can work with those. So yeah, we do work with a variety of other support systems that are already in place. How do the emotional and quality of life outcomes compare between these options?
Well, quality of life is best defined by the person who is living that life. I can't say, Aunt Susan, this is a great quality of life for you if Aunt Susan doesn't feel like she's got that quality of life. We need your quality of life encompasses all aspects: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. Living at home and aging in place is what most people will choose if that's possible, because home is where your memories are. Can be the smell of food, cooking in your kitchen, your emotional memories. I can still I can still see my children playing with toys or hanging out in a room with their friends. I don't wanna leave those memories behind, even though those things haven't happened in my home. I still have those.
Right.
Um, you know, my home, my memories, those bring me joy, and I wanna keep them. I wanna stay living in my home. And for many older people, those emotional memories add to their quality of life.
Yep. What would you personally say to someone who is hesitant to explore home care or other types of care for a parent or loved one based on the fact about maybe based on some of the myths that we've talked about? Um, what would your advice be?
I would say keeping an open mind, give us a try.
Yep.
Um, and when I say give us a try, honestly, like most things come with, "Hey, have a 90-day trial." I 100% believe, try that 90-day trial.
Yep.
Let let's work through it. Let us show you. If you're skeptical, that's fine, but give it a try. Give us 90 days and see how much has your loved one's life improved.
Right.
What is better? I would be shocked if anything was worse.
Yes.
Honestly, and I think you do see the improvements over time. It's an adjustment sometimes for people who may not really be embracing the fact that they do need more help in their home. But once you have it and it's established and you've got that addition to your routine, and you see where it's helping your emotional health, it's helping your mental health, it is helping you maintain your strength and your independence and keeping you home, that's wonderful. Give us If you're skeptical, you're hesitant, give it a try.
Yep. I agree with that. I've seen it in here in Rochester, Minnesota. The family is wanting mom or dad to try it, and mom or dad are just resistant to it. And a lot of times it takes a little bit of time, but then they end up embracing it. Sometimes they just will not do it, or they'll try very because you said so, fine, I'll try it, and it doesn't work out, so we'll pull out, and then they call in 6 months and say, "Okay, now mom or dad is ready to do that." So, yeah, there's nothing wrong with trying it. Um, Sometimes adult children or family will say, "Look, mom or dad, you have told me that you wanna stay home and you want to stay together. If that's your goal, in order to help you do that, I need you to try this." And so, like you just said, Tara, it might be just say, try it for 90 days. If we can get this going, this is going to help you achieve that goal. So sometimes that works, but I don't want to say every case it ends up being this they embrace it with 100% because we see it where we've tried multiple times. We'll go in, we try. Mom or dad doesn't like other people in their home. They don't like not having control. Um, they kick us out, and then 6 months later, they try again. Sometimes it works then, sometimes it doesn't, and then they're back in a year. So, um, or they're back when there's an absolute crisis and there is no choice anymore. So, um, what about the guilt, Tara, that some people feel about bringing in outside care? Do you see that?
Guilt is not a productive feeling. It's not a productive feeling. I I I can't stand it. It's negative, and we shouldn't feel guilty. We can't do it all. I
Right.
I can't when I look at my own life, and both of my parents they're in their mid-80s, they're still here. Um, I can't be in a relationship with my fiancé. I can't have my adult children and enjoy their company. I can't enjoy the children of their children, my grandsons. I can't enjoy them and work a job and take care of my parents. I can't do it all. And I should not. There's not a valid reason for me to feel guilty for not being able to do it all. And you need help. You
Right.
need help. And And it goes back to what I was talking about before. What would you rather do? Would you rather try to do everything and not feel good about yourself, or would you rather bring a little bit of help into your mom and dad's home?
Mhm.
It's your parents, my parents didn't do it all.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And I am not going to expect myself to be able to do it all. I've got my life to live. I have adult children, I have grandchildren, and I have my parents. And I
Yep.
want to see everybody well cared for, and I'm not going to allow myself to feel guilty if I need a little bit of help making sure that everybody is well cared for.
Right.
When I have that help, I'm a nicer person.
Yeah.
I I will feel guilty if I am not nice to people.
That's right. That
I
is true. Yep.
I was short-tempered, and I'm short-tempered because I can wear a superhero cape
Yep.
all of the time. I
Yep.
can't wear a superhero cape all the time. Some of the time, I look really good in the superhero cape,
Yeah.
but to be able to have help.
Yep. I wanna, wrap this up by asking last question, which we did talk about here in the middle, but I wanna end it with this one, um, because again, I just wanna bust the myth that in-home care is not right because either they think that their parents don't need it, or I say parents, but it could be anything. It could be somebody watching this saying, I don't need it. Why do I need help in the home? Or that that's only for people that are bedbound or can't walk around on their own. I want to bust those myths and answer the question again. Um, about what are some of the early signs or just signs that it's time to look past these myths and just consider that your parents or yourself, grandparents, elderly loved one might need a little extra help. So that was changes to the home. Is it clean, safe from clutter, trip hazards? Are you noticing a decline in the home from a year ago or 6 months ago? Is the home starting to look less cared for? What are some other things, Tara?
Increased hospitalizations, increased doctor's visits, weight loss, exhaustion,
Okay.
changes in moods. I think the biggest myths of all is we're always gonna be able to be independent and we're never gonna need help.
Losers.
We're gonna be fine, we're gonna live till we're 95 and we're gonna die in our sleep. Uh, that's really probably not gonna happen except for a very small, blessed minority. The
Right.
rest of us, we need to be at least open-minded to our potential need for in-home care
Right.
and prepare for that.
So, hygiene, change in hygiene. I like that you spoke of the doctor's appointment, falls, memory issues. There's a difference between being forgetful and then the early signs of dementia. So it's important to recognize that even if the concern ends up being totally invalid and it's a normal aging process, if you're concerned, if you have a question for yourself or for a loved one, it's time to talk to a medical provider, or maybe it's getting in home health, that in home care, just another set of eyes, another nurse. Um, am I concerned? Do I have reason to be concerned or not? The other one would be, is it still safe for your loved one to drive? I mean, honestly and realistically, maybe that's the sign that, we just need a little extra help. So if we could ease up on the driving and have somebody take to appointments or run those errands with or for them. Um, so I don't know. I hope all this was helpful. Like always, we want you to subscribe to our channel. If you find this helpful, you can put in the comments if there's other topics that you want us to talk about. Um, we'd love to hear from you. How do you think that Visiting Angels maintains open? Uh-oh.
Take
Hold
2,
on,
start over, hi Dale.
I can't. Sorry.
That's okay.
I thought you would just talk to me. I didn't know you were recording. Sorry.
No, don't be. Are we skipping that? I'm
like, "What?"
I know.
Okay. Sometimes people need one-on-one care, and she wrecked my concentration.